Hello and welcome to a special episode of The Boy and the Bear. Rangers have officially got new owners. And Scotty, I'm going to come straight to you, mate. What does this mean both short term and long term for Rangers?
I think it's obviously a new era, completely right out the gate. It represents huge change. We've now been brought over by not like just a charlatan or one individual. It's a global entity that has had the proven track record of success, building successful teams, building successful, sustainable clubs in multiple sports, and I think that's what's exciting. I think after years now, it's not me having a go at the previous board because they obviously saved us from complete annihilation, right? And I think you've got to give them a special thanks for that. But I think they were limited in terms of what they could do. I think they tried to do multiple things, not very well. Some things were good, some things weren't great. But I think now represents a complete new look at a new fresh approach. And I think that's exciting.
What gives you the confidence that these owners are going to be decent? I mean, in terms of their success rates with clubs and what they try and do with them?
Yeah, I've looked a little bit into like the Leeds, the Leeds stuff because that's obviously closer to home rather than the 49ers. But from what I know from the 49ers themselves, like what they did, they transformed the 49ers franchise into one of the biggest franchises in NFL history. It's a multi-billion-dollar institution. So they came over to Leeds and kind of brought some of that success, but it was mostly commercial. They had more structure around the club, a more settled structure off the field. We've not had that. So I think they come in with a kind of more data-focused approach to recruitment and spending, and I think that's what's exciting because how many times have we discussed it with the last two seasons about Rangers failing to sell assets at the right time?
Just to play devil's advocate a little bit, Leeds United that got relegated to the Championship and do you know what I mean? Like, it's not as if Leeds are in the top 6 of the Premier League.
No,
I think the takeaway word you keep using is structure. I mean, when you're saying that, is that because do you foresee them being quite hands-off owners and putting that infrastructure in place and then just letting it run, or do you see them actually being at games and obviously having quite a face-to-face sort of relationship with fans?
Yeah, I think from what I've heard and what I've read, they are quite quiet as owners. Like, they don't do a lot of speaking, but they are there. They are around the club at points in season. Obviously, Andrew Kavanagh lives in America, so he's not going to be here all the time. But I reckon maybe for the first couple of weeks or something of this new season, he'll be here. Parag Marathi, he's in Leeds. He'll be here on and off sporadically, but I do think there is a presence that they have all year round. They're just not going to be here full time. Do you mean? So I think.
Sorry, Scott, you've just mentioned he was based in Leeds. Is there a risk then that there's a bit of a conflict of interest between trying to run one football club, and another one that's not that far away?
Yeah, I would be reminiscent if I didn't think or disingenuous if I didn't think that was a concern. But I'm not as concerned because he's just a vice chairman. He's not. It's like he's. Yeah. Okay.
Is this Rangers fans turning a little bit of a blind eye because of how bad things have been?
I think so. I think probably deep down, you're just like, right, I'll be fine. I'll be okay. Do you know what I mean?
Also, is it the end of the world over the next 5 years if you do turn into a little bit of a feeder club for Leeds? I mean, this is the club that have just sold Rafinha, who's about to win Ballon d'Or.
Rangers is a feeder club.
Yeah, I don't like that terminology.
No, that's where we're at, though. That's where
I understand.
It's all right for you to say Rafe Rovers are a feeder club. So that's where you're at.
No, I understand. I get 100% understand what you're saying, and I get it.
That'll be the headline taken away from this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Rangers feeder club. Another clip for Stevie getting slaughtered. I think
they're gonna love you.
Name a player that plays for Rangers that get a game for Leeds.
I do think Nico Raskin, Hamza Gaman. There we go. Yes, he's in the Belgian. In the Belgian. Anyway, right, that's enough. So, I think with the feeder question, I don't think we'll be a feeder club. I think it's two completely separate. We've got, for them, I think their attraction to Rangers is about getting European football. I think that is what their main attraction for buying in. I don't think we're going to be a feeder club for Leeds. I don't think that's possible. I think there might be a few players will move down, like some of our better players maybe, or like a couple of young prospects, like what like Chelsea do with, is it Strasbourg or something? They might have like, where Leeds maybe send a promising like player that they've purchased up here to get exposure to a tough environment, European football. I think we can maybe see something like that happening. But I don't necessarily agree that we will become a feeder club for Leeds. So,
Pat, from a Celtic's point of view, does this change any of your summer plans? Does it put? Will it put? But I'm saying that because fans still.
So I think
it won't.
Like
if you ask,
or not, I'm going to go on holiday.
Fans will. I know what the official line of Celtic would be is that it's along the Rodgers line of like Celtic look at themselves and no one else. And he's absolutely right to say that, but let's be realistic. That's an absolute lie, and people do look at their competition and what they do. Do you think fans will put more pressure on the board to act now, and you might see a couple of extra acquisitions at Celtic?
No, because you guys tore me apart for begging the board to act last year when it was no different. It's when it was completely different. The Rangers weren't being bought over, and there was still pressure on Celtic fans to invest and invest properly. So I don't think that changes anything. But we do know that the Celtic typically, you look at when we lost the semi-final to Rangers under Dyla, that is when Dermot Desmond clearly took notice and went, that's unacceptable. Splashed out the cash on Rodgers to bring him up the first time. I would like to think it would have a similar effect. If you have a genuinely, an opposition that provide genuine threat, then you're more likely to invest in your own team. We've seen that from Celtic. What I fear, though, is Celtic will wait and see whether or not this works for Rangers before deciding whether or not to invest. And I will be the same Celtic fan as I was last summer, begging for investment anyway, because I want to progress in Europe. That's where I see Celtic.
Yeah.
Whether or not I think the board will do it, I hope so, but I'm not sure.
Might turn into a January panic if Rangers are a lot closer than everybody currently predicts.
I mean, we've not been adverse to a couple of January panics in the past, have we?
Yeah, I mean, Scott, you're saying that the board, the new owners are coming in. Their focus is European football, and I don't think anybody can disagree with that. If you look at the overall picture of buying Rangers in terms of the commercials, but from a fan's point of view, it's got to be about winning that league.
100%, and I think like that is their statement that they released jointly together on the day that it announced. It was like, we will get Rangers back to, like, that's our main focus, getting us back to winning, but also with the long-term sustainability from a financial point of view. And I think that is what's most exciting for me. I think there is a focus.
It's going to happen, though.
No, I don't, and I was just about to get to that. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, we're going to win the league next year. I hope for that. I said this to you a few episodes ago. I don't think this squad, as much as as bad as it has been, I don't think there's a million miles away from Celtic. I don't think we were. We mentioned that you dropped like 18 points or something since the turn of the year.
You're still miles off Celtic.
No, but what I'm saying is I don't think as a squad we were 100.
In one of games they weren't.
One of games, yeah. So it's more of a consistency.
It's not a reflection of a season, but from a 1 to 11 on a day.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if we can transform, go and spend the money wisely, that we're going to have this injection of 20 million plus whatever we make from player sales plus whatever was already sidelined for this season anyway, we might have a decent bit of money to actually go and invest in key areas and key players. Like, we've been crying out for wingers for years at Rangers. We're crying out for a new backline. So if we can go and strengthen those areas.
You've been given 20 million, apparently. Is that enough in one window?
No, I don't think it is, and I don't think we're going to be like immediately challenging for a treble. I don't think that's going to be a case right away, right? No, but what
I love that that's just the said thing in Scotland. That I going to be
No, but I get why. But what I'm saying is, I don't think we can sit realistic and be like, oh, Rangers are going to go and win it all. I don't think anybody with level-headedness is not saying that. I think it's just there's key areas missing in the squad. So if we can address them with the funds that are being made available, and I think they're proven in the past that they will put their hand in a pocket to help bridge that gap. They've done it with Leeds. They put, obviously Leeds have got the parachute payments and stuff. But again, I think they've seen the gaps. They've done all their scouting and research for Rangers. I think they're coming in with this with very much open eyes exactly what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and I think we're now being run by serious operators. And I think that's the exciting part. Is like there's, you said it earlier on, but it's structure, and I think it's structure throughout the whole football club, which we've not had for years. It's been mismanaged at times, and I think now with recruitment, there's going to be a real focus on getting that right. And I think that is what's going to build the long-term sustainability and success that we all crave. But next year, I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility for us to win the league or challenge more competitively if we get the recruitment right.
Yeah. A lot of the media coverage has obviously been based on the fact of the manager being the main decision coming in and the players then following. I mean, we're all in and around Glasgow, and I think it's fair to say that there's some infrastructure work that needs to be done on the stadium, training facilities, and things like that. I mean, do you see, just based on the owner's history at other clubs and other kind of franchises, as they call them in America, being taken over, is there quite a history of them investing into that, Scott? Because I think that's huge for the long term success of not only Rangers but the Scottish game, and I think a lot of neutral fans would get on board with that more than obviously Rangers appointing a manager, etc.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's part of their plans, is to really improve the footfall around the stadium. You know, increase match day experience. They come from America. American sports are built on like the experience for families and people. So I think they're going to make a real focus over the coming years, building up the match day experience. Not just the match day experience. I think there'll be a lot to do during the week as well. You know, you see it in America. A lot of their grounds they've got events on when there's no sports. It's like, so I think that always.
There's plenty of events going on in Govan, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, true.
You'd like to think they'd be busy during the week.
Yeah. No, but do you know what I mean? I think it just represents a whole new change, and there is already, obviously, before, under the previous regime, they were going to turn the old sports shop into a bar, but I heard that the new owners have put a stop to that right now because their main focus is looking at ways to improve the actual stadium. So, like, increase the capacity. I think that's probably going to be their first port of call. Obviously, because we've got I think it's 11,000 difference between Ibrox and Celtic Park in terms of attendance.
It's the hospitality as well, isn't it? The hospitality is the biggest thing. I've seen that.
Yeah. And right away, you know, so there's millions of pounds on the table. And then that helps bridge the gap between Rangers and Celtic. You know,
see just on that, Scotty. Final question for me: is there any part of you as a Rangers fans that's concerned that part of the culture at your club's maybe going to get stripped out a little bit? Because, I mean, let's be honest, these guys are they're business guys, and a lot of their decisions will be commercial based, not cultural based.
Yeah, and I think we've already seen that. I think we've already seen that with the whole Souness tifo. You know. Like, that was just funny. Do you know what I mean? Like, the whole meltdown off it. And then our CEO comes out right away and absolutely slates the fans for it, but then doesn't have the galls to apologise when it's found that there's no criminality. So I think they need to be very careful about alienating the support with, you know, their new direction that they're going in, because you can't lose the identity. You can do it in maybe a cleaner way, but I don't think you can lose your identity, because then you lose the club. Do you mean? And I think that was the same. I've seen a few things on Leeds boards and like fan boards and stuff, and I think that was their concern when it was announced that, you know, this group's coming in. And somebody had said that, like, when they got promoted, it was like Parag Marahi's at one of the sports bars pulling pints for everyone. Like, basically, you know, so they're invested in the, you know, the culture. So that's not.
That's a press opportunity, Scott.
I know it's a press. I know it's a press opportunity, but what I mean is, like, maybe there's something there that they're not completely going to alienate themselves against the culture.
You're definitely getting a documentary series, eh?
Like, oh, absolutely! It's called The Blue Room. It's called The Blue Room, you know, or something like that, on Amazon Prime.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
But then, changing the culture, you know, big decisions need made at Ibrox. Are you still going to walk out simply the best?
Absolutely, legends never die. Form is temporary.
Born in the USA, Springsteen.
Absolutely. Is that Bruce Springsteen? Is that Bruce Springsteen? It's Bruce Springsteen, that. But no, I think it's exciting, and I think just before we finish, I think the quickness that things have already happened since the announcement is exciting as a Rangers fan. Like, there's no longer this waiting about for change. Like, we've got Kevin Fowler got announced yesterday as that was him officially in post, but he obviously started today, and right now the first protocol is Niels Coppin has been removed. He's no longer employed by Rangers. He's now in a transition phase. Copped it. Well, he is copped it. So Niels copped it is he's obviously on the way out. Dan Purdy from Everton is coming in, and I was looking at Fowler.
They've been brilliant. They've been brilliantly run over the last 10 years, mate.
Everton's
been
fantastic.
Yeah, well, this is what I was just. I'm so glad you boys said this. Thank you so much, because I knew this was going to come up, right? And the two of them have actually done very well. Like,
the new stadium's incredible, mate.
No, but like, see all the restrictions about like their transfer budget and what they can't spend, what they can spend. Obviously, they're moving to a new stadium. Like, to keep them in the Premier League under serious financial implications, I think. And the players that they turned around at Everton, and then obviously Kevin Fowler was sold, Richarlison, Anthony, like, brought in a lot of good money, and then they replaced them with good players, good players that have kept them in. So I think there's a good balance. No, he was at Everton, and then he moved to Newcastle. So Anthony Gordon. Sorry, Anthony Gordon. Sorry, Anthony
best
Gordon.
Pals,
sorry, mate. Same. And then obviously, like Andre and Onana, they bought him for 30 million, sold him like a season or later for 50 million. So, I mean, so like, I think Dan Purdy's got an eye for a player. I think Kevin Fowler knows how to get good value, and they both of them know how to work within a structure and a budget.
Yeah.
Which obviously we're going to have to.
Andre and Anna doesn't like that.
Beto and
No, Anna. What's the boy for the Belgian midfielder? What's his name?
That's him.
Aye, not the goalkeeper, mate. Aye.
No, the goalkeeper's Jordan Pickford, mate. He's
no. I thought you were talking about
Belgian.
I thought you were talking about the Man United goalkeeper. I was like, no, that's not.
No.
Yeah, that's why I was like, no.
They can operate in a market where they spend 30 or 50 million, but coming up to Scotland, Simon Murray from Dundee for 20p in it.
Back at Chris, eh? You up the road, son, for a bottle of Iron Brew. No, I do think it represents people with experience. I think that's been our issue. We have promoted a bit too soon, especially Coppin was ahead, just barely a head scout. Then he comes in, and then 6 months later, he's now the technical director of Rangers. It's like, I understand finding value in people and wanting to promote them, but we've promoted them too soon.
Yeah.
So I think
squares for round holes.
Yeah, we've got two guys now who are in a job, that have done the job at previous clubs and have done it at a high level.
Well, lads, we had a feeling that this was going to happen. Just as we finished recording last week, Rangers decided to announce Russell Martin as manager, or what actually I believe his head coach has been called by the club. Yep. Those watching this on YouTube will see that we're now recording a separate wee section to get our thoughts on the manager. Scotty, you did initially say that it was going to be a disaster in our group chat, so yeah, the floor is yours, mate. Let's start it there.
Well, yeah, I think maybe I suppose people will say it's a bit premature, but I think just that comment was purely based on his tenure as Southampton manager in the Premier League. I think 1 win in 16 matches, conceded 36 goals. Like we've had troubles defensively for the last couple of seasons. So I think, from my perspective, that's where I was coming from. It was the defensive errors and issues that have plagued Rangers that have also plagued Russell Martin. I just don't want to see that again. So that's why I thought it would be a disaster. But obviously, having done a bit more digging and listened to a few of his interviews and podcast appearances that he's done, I'm not 100% against it. I will give him time. I think he's got to be given time. I think the club has been quite diligent in its approach. So they've obviously done their research on him, believe that he is the right man to lead the club forward. So I think we've just got to believe, trust him, and back him.
Do you not think, Scotty, the perception is just such a funny thing in football? Because see if he'd got the job, when Southampton got promoted from the Championship in what was an unbelievable season, you would be absolutely buzzing. And he's obviously managed now across 3 different cohorts. This will be his 4th club. And we're taking a 16-game spell in what is the hardest league in the world, where in 2 seasons on the bounce, all the teams that have been promoted have been relegated.
Yeah.
And we're using that little kind of portion of his managerial career to completely judge him for being Rangers manager. Now, I'm the same as you. Obviously, we've laughed and joked on this podcast, but I could not believe the response from Rangers fans, and not just a minority, quite a hefty majority. And I thought it was a little bit delusional, if I'm going to be honest with you, of where we sit, not only as with Rangers, but as Scottish football in general. So I went away and got some stats. If you take out the 16 games, if you take out the 16 games from Russell Martin's career from Southampton manager in the Premier League, and let's pretend that just didn't exist, okay? Because there's no getting away from that. It's disastrous.
Yep.
Here's some high level ones. When he was manager at MK Dons, he broke the record for most passes leading to a goal with 56 passes. Something Rangers fans have been bleating on with. The team can't string 3 passes together.
Yep.
He broke the possession record in the Championship the season they got promoted with 65.7% possession, which was actually also in the top 5 in the whole of Europe.
Yep.
With passing accuracy at 88% in that same season. He was also in that same season leading team for open goal passes and plays into the final third. So this whole, we'd lose the ball at the back, etc. He gets the ball to the final third very quickly.
From like the kind of trophies that Rangers will be winning.
No, but these are when I was reading them, Pat. Like it was literally all the things that for the last 2 years, if you like rolled them all up, this is what Rangers have been saying they want in a manager, like someone who's got a clear identity, can play possession-based football, can break down low blocks.
Yep.
He plays a 4-3. He plays a 4-3-3. Do you know what I mean? Like he actually, if you take out that 16 games, he is actually the carbon copy of what Rangers fans have been calling for 2 years. But there's just this absolute agenda against anybody who in their last position wasn't successful. And I do not understand it.
It's that old thing though, isn't it, Steve, that you're only as good as your last job.
Absolutely, mate.
Like people always sort of look down on, or where we are today, like there's always like recency bias is just...
Yeah, and it can disappear. Absolutely, mate, and it can disappear very quickly. Let's just use Brendan Rodgers as an example. Obviously, he left Southampton before the ship sank fully, but he was Leicester. Sorry, Leicester. he left that ship before it sank, again, and they got relegated that season. But obviously, the season before that, they won the FA Cup, and if he'd taken the Celtic job just as they won the FA Cup. Do you know what I mean? Like I just find it absolutely crazy, Scotty.
I think just to kind of caveat, like I totally understand that, and sorry, that's my dog just having a wee snooze on the couch. I think taking his spell in charge of Southampton and looking into it more than I have recently with his announcement, I do think there's a lot more positives, and I think that was a worry, the possession based. I thought it was going to be the same as kind of Warburton, Gio, Beale that we've seen come on. This slow build up, but like
what a Mount Rushmore lineup that would be.
I know, right? But what I'm saying is, like, I think this is why a lot of Rangers fans maybe have blown their top and maybe overreacted. It's because we've heard this possession based football. We've heard this, control, playing out from the back. We've seen it from the last 4 managers we've had, and it's been very slow. We've not been aggressive, and for us, it's like all the right words have been said: aggressive play, tactically, like astute, hard working, like the fittest team on the pitch, and we've never seen that. Do you mean? So I think that was the concern. I think it still is a concern, obviously, but I think that was the biggest concern with Russell Martin being appointed, is because we've heard all these great adjectives to describe football, and we've never had it before. Jimmy, it's never really come to fruition. So I think that's why there's been maybe a bit more negativity towards him. And then obviously, sorry, just before you come, I think as well, his playing spell here didn't exactly put him in a positive light with the fans. So I think coupled with his presumably bad record, which is not, when you look at the cold light of day, it's not that bad a record, right? And very competitive league in the Championship, and he did very well with a medium-sized team, you would say, like medium-sized budget. They didn't expend the most, but
was shite though last season.
Yeah, it's not as if they got much better when they sacked him, though.
No,
They didn't get any better. They still finished bottom.
I think the one positive I'll give him, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is the more I read up, is his ability to give young players a chance. I think I've been saying to you boys for ages that we've got this supposed to be good academy, right? And we're losing all these young players, like we're losing promising left back to Newcastle because there's no pathway. Do you mean? So I think if he can come in, bring these youngsters through, give them an opportunity to show what they can do, I think that's a positive. So I think that's one of the reasons why he's maybe been selected in front of most people. You know, I think that's a big plus for the new board. Like you look at his promotion of Tyler Dibbing. Is it Tyler Dibbing? Or is it the young winger from Southampton? Like he's
centre midfielder, mate.
As a centre, well, so I think he's come in from his Southampton job with a lot more learning and a lot more experience under his belt, which I think will serve him well at Ibrox. My only concern that I have going forward is I don't want to be turned over by Celtic. You know, we've finally started to figure a way out of playing against them without being turned over. Europe, we don't get turned over. It's only in the league we've been struggling against the run-of-the-mill teams, right? I just don't want us to go the opposite way where we play this wonderful, expansive football and then comes to, say, Champions League or Europa League, or we play Celtic and we play this really aggressive high line. We get turned over very quickly and it's like 3-0 down before half-time. Do you mean that's a disaster for me?
Well, that's just about coaching and stuff as well, Scotty, but if you take that in isolation, you would probably say to yourself, if you got beat 3 of the 4 games next season by Celtic but won the league, would you care?
Probably not. But
the Celtic fans care this season that they couldn't really get a one over on Rangers? Does that come into your thought much, Pat?
It's been a while since we got the win, but we've won, the first game
and won trophies,
and won the final against Rangers. So
won trophies.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing I would just want to say before we go is my other concern I have with this appointment, and obviously having the new director of football, is our focus shifting back to Championship players. We've had this before where we've signed a lot of dross from the Championship because they play in the English Championship. They come up here, they can't hack it. They're not good enough. Like Rabbi Matondo, Ben Davies, Kieran Dowell,
Todd Cantwell.
Do you mean it's like that's my genuine concern that he'll just want to poach the players that he knows or from the league that he knows? It's like, so yeah, that's my concern. But I wish him well. I'm going to back him. I'm going to go forward and support him.
Really sounds like it.
Yeah. I mean, you all know me. I'm a miserable bugger sometimes, most of the time. So it'll be very, very hard watch if he doesn't start well. I think he has to start well. So
yeah, Pat, did you? I take it you've not lost any sleep over it?
No, but I have met Russell Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
at an old job in customer service a long time ago. And I can confirm he was a very polite man.
Just ask that boy in Asda, innit? Asda Govan.
I hope he enjoys his move to Glasgow, but I hope his new job goes terribly for him.
Speaking of that, just before we finish, your new signing, Kieran Tierney, is out injured again.
Oh, we don't know how long for yet.
I know, but
it's one of them, isn't it? He just pulls out the Scotland squad to get up the road.
To get to Ibiza or something.
It's one of those you find out you're not playing and it's like, I really want to go to Liechtenstein. Not really.
No.
Well, but Rangers are going to win the most passes in the season trophy next year. He was injured trophy, so congrats, Scott. That's
hey, listen, I'll take it, mate. We've not had a trophy in a while, so.
You've been listening to The Boy and the Bear. If you have any complaints or compliments for our podcast, you can email us at theboyandthebear@gmail.com, and we are also on social media on TikTok and Instagram at BoyBearPod, and these episodes also go live on YouTube, where you will find us on the same handle. Pleasure as always, boys.
Russell Martin, we trust.